Okay, this is team number 1 over here. Team number 2 over here. Not quite so many, but you look beautiful.
And there's nothing more exciting or nerve-wracking than getting to introduce one of the best in the business.
If you really want to become unstoppable, you need to be able to get rid of all that stuff and be present in this space as you.
He's an award-winning international motivational speaker and coach. He's worked with celebrities like James Brown and Bruce Willis.
And I'm Jack Canfield.
And I'm Brian Tracy.
And I'm John Gray.
I'm Jared Robin.
And I'm Perry Marshall.
Hi, and I'm George Regan.
So you get 86,400 seconds in every day. Imagine every single one of them had a dollar sign. That's the money that you were given every single day to spend $1 a second on what you want to have. The next day you get the money back again, but you can't carry it on and you can't add it up. What have you bought with your money today?
Audiences of over 1 billion people. He's sharing how to become unstoppable in business. It's my honor to introduce to you Dave Crane.
Your ability to speak and sell is paramount. Everybody in this room has this ability anyway. You use it. But everybody else outside is going to have to learn to do this too. We're going to have soft skills.
I wish I had more time.
Inspiring. It was amazing.
I love people who are out of the box. First of all, he's hysterical.
How many people have seen Titanic before? The movie? Okay, how many people? Keep your hand up. Keep your hand up. How many people have only seen it once? Only twice? 3 times? 4 times? 5 times? 6, 7, 8. Have you not got Netflix or anything else to watch?
Absolutely amazing.
How he's able to reach and connect with his audience.
He is super powerful.
A totally new level.
It's amazing.
Talks to you and not through you.
Because everything that we learn in the corporate world or learn at school is completely wrong about the way that we should be successful in the future.
You could have heard a pencil drop.
If you get to be coached by him or do any business with him, you are one lucky person.
Trust me. Go to Dave for anything that you want to do.
Every single person on the planet needs to find a way to work with Dave.
He's an amazing man. I can't wait to work with him more in the future. Dave, you're amazing.
How are you? Nice to see you. My name's Dave Crane. Yes, you probably guessed because of that incredibly gratuitous video I just played on the way into the show. Welcome to Speak on Stage. Really busy show today, and I'm fascinated by the subject. It's one of my pet hobbies and pet subjects to look at, which is this. And I know you're going to say, what, a picture of your face looking grumpy, Dave? No, not at all. It's about the rockstar attitude and the way that if you think like a rock star in your industry, in your niche, in your lane, then you will find that you'll have an attitude that gets you further faster. Now, let me put this into some kind of perspective so you get kind of what I'm talking about. We all know people who've joined the company and fast-tracked to the top. And everyone's gone, you can't do that. She's already done it. She's doing that. Oh, look, oh my goodness, now second in command of a company. And now she's left the company to start a new one. Or she's gone off to join somebody else. How did that happen? And you watch people accelerate and fast track. And because they have a different world to everybody else. And they have different rules to everybody else. But they also have better successes than most other people. And today's show is all about working our way through those different things to give you some illustrations and some insights into what the things are you should have basing your life on to be able to create success. Now, these are the things we don't get taught at school. At school, we get taught to stay in our lane, to sit down in your classroom and be quiet. Don't talk when anyone else is talking. Don't ask questions that are ridiculous. Well, how can you find out what you really need to know unless you ask a question that everybody doesn't agree with? I mean, the thing is, if you knew the answer to it, you wouldn't ask a question. You're asking because even if it sounds stupid to everybody else, that's why you're asking in the first place. So from school, it gets beaten into us. But it got beaten into us into a system that said, look, and I know I have a go at educators. I'm not having a go at educators. I'm having a go at the educational sisters. Sisters? The educational sisters, they're the worst of all the educators. You should see them on their motorbikes riding around, waving hoo-has. I don't know what a hoo-ha is, but they've got them. Too many hoo-has. Right, educational system. So it's like, don't hate the player, hate the game. That's what I'm saying. So, going back to the educational system. It taught you that if you played the game the right way, you'd end up in a nice job. And from that, you would have the premise that you could actually live in society, have the car or the cars that you wanted to have the wife or the husband that you wanted to have the 2.3 kids. Does that mean that was a head? I don't know. But you have your dog and whatever it was, and you'd be fine for life. That was a deal. That's a deal that I was growing up to believe. That's why you went to school, and that's why you got the impression that everything was equal, and you might do well at that, and they do well at that, but it doesn't matter. It'll all work out right in the end. And what happened after I'd graduated, not because I graduated, but after I'd left school and started waking up to what the reality of what the world really was, then in the UK, it became really expensive. There were no government grants to get your education paid for. You had to pay for it yourself by taking out a huge loan. And this huge loan would be something you pay off for almost the rest of your life, if not the rest of your life. And with no guaranteed job. So you come out there with a degree, and the degree showed you that you're good at studying, and it showed other people you're good at studying. But the problem is, it didn't teach you how to get a job, didn't teach you anything you really needed for that job to exist, and it didn't teach you the most important thing, which is what you really need to learn from school in the playground, which is how to get on with people and understand how games get played internally in organizations, and so how you can conquer them by working your way up and having a better insight. It also didn't teach you about the things that you really needed to concentrate on to make yourself happy in life. The idea was that if you work really hard and you do the stuff that you're told to do, then you will get happiness as a byproduct. But not everybody should be happy. You should be happy with your work, happy you've got a job, happy you can watch TV on a night time because everybody else is the same boat. Truth is, everybody else is wrong. You deserve to have the best life you can have, period. And if that's a one life in 100 or one life in 1,000,000, doesn't matter how many people, you deserve to have the best life that you could possibly have. And if other people don't like it, then they can... bad things. I mean it, I really do. I cannot say this enough. What the pandemic and the lockdown has given us is a clear insight into the fact that from a number of point of views, the government are choosing to look after themselves in every country. Some of them are great by their people, some are not great by their people. But you have the feeling that they're kind of going, shall we just do it? Toss a coin? Well, nobody does coins. And you wouldn't toss a coin, would you? Because you don't touch cash anymore. So you'd be like, where's my phone? Get your phone. And you'd I don't know, supposing that was a phone. In fact, do you remember when phones looked like that? Do you remember when Nokia had a phone like this called a communicator? It wasn't golden, unless you sprayed it, in which case you're an idiot. But it was about this size, and it would open up like that. Yeah, it would open up, and inside you have a little keyboard, and you had big stubby fingers, you'd be like that, trying to press it. It was like hitting it with a potato. You'd try to get it to work, and if you're lucky, it would last for half a day. But you'd have to find something to plug it into. And because Nokia were very smart, you couldn't plug any other plug into it. You had to use just the charger. So you carry it around on a backpack because it was not easy to carry around. And you have to find somewhere to plug it in. And you might get internet on it, you might not. But everyone had one. So you'd go into a meeting and you'd put your brick next to you. Brick. Stop it. You'll be sent home. Oh, you are at home. Okay, fair enough, because that's what lockdown's all about. So you'd have your brick next to you, and you wouldn't generally have a laptop. You just have a notebook and a pen, because laptops were a different kettle of fish. Most people had desktops in those days. Do you remember what I'm talking about? So you'd have a desktop at your workplace or at your home, or maybe if you're lucky, you have both. And a desktop was like, imagine you got a cereal packet, right? And that was your monitor, but it then had on the back of it a shoebox. It was a really big thing, really heavy. It was not portable. It was less portable than a dead person. So you'd have to carry it around. Then you have this big sort of a generator thing, which is CPU, which is really heavy. And you do floppy disks, not even CDs, this is before that. Floppy disks, which were about that size. And they were plastic. And they'd probably have about enough information to be able to say boo. That was it. You'd have like a stack of them. So you go, right, look, put that in, 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 put that. It's the wrong way around. That's why I won't go in. All right, put that in, Okay, take the information, put it out, put that one in, take the information, put it out, and then about a stack of about 10 to 20. And then once you've done it, you could boot it all up, and the whole information would come together with a screen that said, what would you like to do now? Open this, yes or no. It would be a Y or an N. And it would be grey screen or green screen or something really pathetic. Or it would have, what do you call it? It would have the graphics that look like the, you know how Lego's become a thing? And Lego is like one of the most popular things on the planet now. And it should be, because Lego Batman was brilliant, and Lego Movie is brilliant, all the rest of it. But Lego basically, before all this new stuff happened with Lego, it was a brick. A tiny little version of this, but with some bits on it to stick together. And they were good for two things. One thing, they were good for chewing on when you're bored and you're a kid, because they'll look really tasty, but they're never the plastic. And they were good for making stuff if you couldn't get a Meccano set, because Meccano had metal and had screws, and it was always more fun than Lego at the time. And it was good for one thing. If you wanted to break your toes while walking around your bedroom, you would get Lego as a present. And you guaranteed when you walk around barefoot to stand on Lego, and it would stick in and it would hurt. That's what Lego does. Now it's sophisticated, now it's brilliant. Now it might not even be bricks. Now Lego is like that. Ka-ching, it's a license to print money. But when you look at the basics of it, it's still a brick. So anyway, going back, the reason I bring up Lego is because on those days, your graphics looked like Lego on a computer. So whenever you did anything, you had to move around the cursor, which would flash on and off, and if it froze, it just flash like that. And you're going, what's happened? It's not moving, it's not moving. And try and press your keyboard, or you move your mouse. And the mouse wasn't sophisticated like this one. That was the dead one a couple of days ago. Well, no, actually the dead one's over here. Just to prove it, I've got two. Oh, which one's which? That one's a good one. So, and that's probably how I broke the first one. So, you would have your CPU, you'd have your computer stuff, and it was really complex to use at home, and it could do the most basic of stuff. I mean, nowadays, when you look at a normal phone has a sophistication to fly a space shuttle, compared to what we used to have in the space shuttles in those days. So, the conversation I started was all about something I have no idea at all about. But I hope you followed it so far, because today's show is all about the educational system and how you can bypass it. Because in the old days when we went to school, they didn't tell you nothing. That makes sense? Good. So stick with me. So today's show, we'll be looking at a couple of different things. First of all, we're going to be starting off by looking at the recipe for super success, the things you should stick with, the things that you wouldn't stick with. I've got all that worked out for you. That comes from Ladders, theladders.com magazine. Or probably just website now, because I don't know if magazines still do what they do anymore. I'm also going to be going through what it takes to be a rock star, and how to have a rock star attitude, which I think you'll love. And on top of that, we'll be looking and investigating The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell is one of my favourite actors. No, he's not an actor. One of my favourite authors. And he shared a ton of stuff in his various books. Blink, Tipping Point, David and Goliath, What the Dog Saw, and it sounds like ridiculous stuff, but it's brilliant. I'll tell you one thing before we get into this. We will go into The Outliers, which is a brilliant book, and we'll show you a video on that. And I may show you a video on Madonna and her success story. In my opinion, the best rock star of all time, because she reinvented herself so many times, but she had an incredible business model and an incredible attitude of doing it. And you might not like Madonna, you might not be a big fan of Madonna, but I think she's absolutely brilliant. So I'll show you a video that brings all that together. So, David and Goliath. Right, here's David and Goliath. This is the genius of Malcolm Gladwell. He's an economist, but he also works out how people tick, how people work, and he puts the things together and gives incredible insights, and is a really chilled out and cool guy as well. So, David and Goliath, which is not his best book, but it had some fascinating stuff. If you're of Christian origin, or you're aware of a Christian Bible, you know about the story of David and Goliath. The idea was that Goliath was this huge, toughest soldier as part of the army that was going on to take on another army. And the other army didn't want to face him, or any of them, because they were all massive. And he's there covered in his tattoos, and is like, look like Bluto out of Popeye, probably, but without olive oil. As in Popeye's girlfriend. Not, he might have olive oil, or you know. So, anyway, it was worth money to him. So, anyway, what ended up happening, to cut a long story short, is they said, who's going to take on the champion of the big bulky army? And they chose a shepherd stepped forward called David. Yeah, wasn't me. It wasn't me. Trust me, I'm brave. I don't mind getting outside my comfort zone. But if you say to me, Dave, would you like to take on a tank? The answer is, let me think about it. No. No. I only fight battles and I can win. But here's the thing about that one. The story is that David stepped forward, who's a lonely shepherd, right? I don't know why I do that with my fingers, but I just heard it so many times. You got this big tank called Goliath. You got David, who's a lonely shepherd, who clearly was with an orchestra behind him playing the music. Get in there, David. I don't want to get in there. Well, why are you playing the music for us to get you in there? I don't know. Can you play something else? Well, will you stop moving your fingers? Well, you keep playing the theme from Star Wars. That's Superman. I don't want to go in. Well, move your hands down and just get your sling. All right, got the sling. Woo! Do you want some stones to go with it? Yeah, you mean you can't kill them with a sling? No, you can't kill them with a sling. Okay, I'll pick a couple of these. I'll just get a few bullets and a shuriken and a knife and a bazooka. I'll put them in here. I'll get one more. I get 5. And a submachine gun, an Uzi. I'll put them in my shepherd's bag, and I'll just squash my shepherd's pie. That's ruined my breakfast. So that's what happened with David. But the thing was, and this is why I'm talking about Malcolm Gladwell, this is why it's so fascinating reading this book, there was no way that Goliath was going to beat David. And I was saying, what? Well, not because he had bazooka and all this, it was days before, not years before, hundreds of thousands of years before. I didn't have, look, let me explain. Because I'm not doing a very good job of explaining, I'm kind of going all over the place. So let me just come back to where we should be with this basic story about David and Goliath. In those days, you had 3 basic types of army. You had your troops, who were the guys who are big and bulky like Goliath, and they pretty much have a big sword and a spear and a shield and armor, and they would be the ones that just step into battle. And then you'd have, on the other side, you'd have cavalry, which are men and horses. Predominantly men, anyway. Unless you see Wonder Woman, in which case they were all women. But I think that was a comic. I'm not sure. So then you've got your cavalry, but then you've also got the artillery. So the artillery ones with guns, of course, they didn't have guns. They didn't have an Uzi or a bazooka or whatever I put into shepherd's bag next to a shepherd's pie. What they did have instead was slingshots and stones. But if you're really good with a slingshot was as effective as a Colt 45 gun. You could hit somebody in the eye from a good distance if you'd practiced enough. So here's the thing. The evidence of the descriptions says that Goliath was freakishly big. But it was a very good chance that with his freakish bigness also came some problems. Like he had double vision because he had tumors in his brain. Because it said that he had to be led down the hill to fight David in the valley or wherever the battlefield was because he couldn't see where he was going. He had to be led by somebody. So typically, in a normal battle, that's fine. You just get the big fat boy, give him some stuff, send him in, and he'll just keep thrashing. And somebody say, "Stop thrashing, Goliath! Now you can stop now." But I enjoy it. I'm a killing man. I don't know why he's beating a drum. He's got his spear. Here he's got a microphone. So he's doing the killing people song. That's what he did. So getting back to it, there was no way that Goliath, who's a tank with failures because he had eyesight problems and he couldn't see where he's going properly, and he probably couldn't have told which was the right David because he had double vision, versus David who could pinpoint and shoot somebody from a distance. David didn't have to get near him. He could do it from a distance, a safe distance. He just needed to pick him off with a stone. Bang! Catch him in the eye. Done deal. Dead. So it was actually an unfair battle between David and Goliath. And there's no way that he would have lost it under the circumstances in that battle. So the idea that the little guy beat the big guy, which shows that you should always go up against the big guy because you got a chance. No, it was a calculation. The artillery took out the infantry. And it always would. Are you fascinated by this, or you just want to move on and get on with the show? Get on with the show. Okay, be like that. Okay, well, next up, we're going to be looking at what makes an outlier and what somebody has to do to be super successful using certain rules. And that goes back to Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote the book on David and Goliath. See, it all fits together. Speak on stage. So with that, welcome back to the show, Speak on Stage. I'm Dave Crane. Here's my coffee cup. Here's my big fat Rudolph, red-nosed reindeer, wearing a sweater because it's almost Christmas. It's not almost Christmas, but it wasn't almost Christmas. It was just Christmas gone when we went into lockdown near enough. And now we're a lot closer to Christmas. I know it's still summer, or summer's coming to an end or whatever. It's 1st of September today, isn't it? We used to do a thing when I was a kid. My dad said that whenever it turned into the beginning of every month, you had to say white rabbits 3 times. White rabbits, white rabbits, white rabbits. And you got good luck, but if you didn't say it, it was bad luck. And he'd always had to be the first thing he said in the morning. Couldn't say anything else. You had to wake and go, white rabbits, white rabbits, white rabbits. And A, it never worked. And B, I'm wondering if that has the same effect as saying Candyman or Beetlejuice. If you're a movie buff, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not a movie buff, you have no idea. We're going out live, by the way, to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope onto Twitter, and we go out to Instagram as well. Make sure you connect with me on all those different levels, so therefore you never miss it when we start going, so you get the notification bell. And today's show is all about making money. And today's show is very much all about showing you how to be a rock star with a rock star attitude. And to illustrate that exact point, next up I'm going to be sharing with you a video all about the outliers. This one is all about the book by Malcolm Gladwell. I would recommend you get the book, you read it for yourself. If you're not much of a book reader because you sit there and get easily distracted, or you got a Kindle, or whatever reason, then get the audiobooks. They're brilliant. He narrates them himself and he's a really, really smart guy. Right up, insights into the outliers. That's up next on Speak on Stage.
Forget everything you thought you knew about success and get ready to hear what New York writer Malcolm Gladwell has to say. This multiple bestseller has many a lesson to teach, 5 of which we'll be taking a look at today. 1. Practice. Gladwell stated that people at the top of the food chain don't just work a bit harder than others, they work much harder. Practice shouldn't be something you do once you're good. It's what you do that makes you good. 2. Courage. According to Gladwell, courage isn't something that already exists to use in times of turmoil. It's earned and comes to light when you realize that, in actual fact, you're not so tough after all. 3. Fulfillment. For work to be satisfying, there are 3 qualities it must possess: autonomy, complexity, and a connection between effort and reward. It shouldn't come down to how much money we make. It's about the work we do and whether that brings us joy. 4. Innovation. Innovators need to be disagreeable. Now, this does not mean obnoxious. It's never easy to take social risks and dive into the deep end that others are afraid of. You have to be willing to do this and stop obsessing about seeking the approval of others. Just look at Bill Gates. The then 13-year-old in 1968 was provided unlimited access to a time-sharing terminal. What would happen if 1 million teenagers in today's day and age were given the same opportunity? There's nothing wrong with being a big fish in a small pond. It's time to jump out and rise up and above the crowd. And Malcolm Gladwell is here to change our perceptions forever. Click on the button below to purchase the full, detailed analysis of the life-changing theories of Malcolm Gladwell.
Interesting, isn't it? And it gives you an insight into the book. The thing that's so fascinating about the outliers is Malcolm Gladwell goes through the 7 factors that makes you successful. And in the book he talks about the people, you've got to be born at a certain time with certain opportunities. You've got to be prepared to take advantage of them. You've got to be, you've got to be groomed to have a mindset that's ready for them. You've got to have a certain amount of talents, but not a huge amount of talents, and you've got to put the time in, 10,000 hours of purposeful practice. So what's purposeful practice? Purposeful practice, like for instance, if you drive a car, You may know from driving a car that you drive safely, you've never had an accident, you've never caused any problems as far as I know anyway, and so you generally have got a clean driving license. And you might have driven for 10 years, and that's 10,000 hours of purposeful practice. But the truth is, in order to get purposeful practice to be realistic, you've got to be able to drive not only good or well, you've got to keep pushing to be better. So that means you're not just a driver, you're a stunt driver, and you've practiced defensive driving and evasive driving, and you've been trained by the police to be able to escape and to go over sand dunes and whatever it is. So you are always pushing to be much better at doing it. That's what the 10,000 hours of purposeful practice is all about. So if you look at that particular element, then you look at a normal person who plays an instrument. I think it might have said it on that video. So if you're a music teacher, you're putting between 3,000 and 4,000 hours of purposeful practice, just practicing. That's a violin, okay? It's a really whining violin, and if you've ever had a child who's practiced the violin, it sounds like that. Now, it sounds great later, but really is not good. Makes you cry. Makes you a violent parent. Not to your kids, just stress. And you're thinking, get good, make me money. And we don't. They just go, I'm bored now. And you go, but the violin was so expensive. Yeah, Dad, don't like it. So you try and pick it up and work on it. Ding, 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 ding. It's the world's worst banjo. So basically, if you practice 3,000 to 4,000 hours, you could be a music teacher. If you get very, very, very good at it, you might be in a band. The violin band. Everyone, David and Goliath orchestra could be following him around as he waves his socks. If you do 10,000 hours of pushing and pushing and pushing, getting better and better, you will be a top musician like an Elton John. So you can play big concerts and people come to see you because you're such a genius, you're so much better than all the other musicians. Now, the Beatles, for instance, were able to be one of the best bands in Britain because they kept going to Hamburg. So when they went to Hamburg, they were doing like a year in Hamburg at a trot. And they were working in these nightclubs where people were naked. Nakedy Hamburgs, they're called Hamburger clubbies. Never been one. And I would never go because I think it's wrong. Anyway, they worked at this place with strippers in. And they would play their instruments, they'd play their songs, whatever was big in the charts, probably George Michael, so they're playing that kind of, or Ariana Grande, because this was the 60s and they hadn't been born yet or invented. So they're playing all these songs, and people were not that bothered because they couldn't see the girls dancing. And what they did was, because they'd played all these songs, they'd go, right, okay, should we just swap instruments? So he said, yeah, let's just swap instruments. So they played each other's instruments. They didn't have one of these violins, but they probably had a money-making machine like my medallion. Yeah, ching ching. So they swap over and they get bored, so they experiment and play different sorts of music, classical music, jazz music. They experimented so much that by the time they came back to Britain as a band, they were the best band in Britain because they'd had more time practicing than anybody else, live. Not just practicing in the garage, but live. So they were doing like long hours, like 16-hour days just in these clubs, playing music. So when they came back, the challenge for any live band is you probably work really hard in your garage and then you get about 1 hour live every couple of weeks, if you're lucky, to be able to sing your songs and find an audience reaction. They were doing it all the time. So they just were the best live band in Britain when they came back. So it's no surprise that on top of that advantage, with the talent you had in the band, you could put more on top of it and do really well. And so that's basically what you've got to come from when it looks like your talent. So, for instance, when you talk about the actual talent of somebody being brilliant at stuff, you remember from school, there were kids who were brilliant at doing certain things, much better than you, naturals at sport, and naturals at maths, and naturals at science, and all the rest of it. You can beat all them by just putting in the time to learn and study. If somebody's got natural talent and you work really hard on it, you can beat them just by working hard at it. Now, you can't do it if you've got two left feet playing football because you'll be okay. You've got to be able to arrive at the school of it and qualify at the school of whatever it is that you do. But your ability to get to the finishing line better is just down to the practice of testing it. So, for instance, when somebody wins the World Ice Skating Championship, because they do a triple backflipped, somersaulty, flying, spread-eagled chimney sweep, which is a really good maneuver that I kind of made up then, but it would be worth money if you did it properly. They've been on their backside on the ice more than any other human being. That's how they got to do that amazing backflip chimney sweep thing. Because they've messed up more times than anybody. But they practice and practice and practice, whereas most people just go, I'm all right, I'm okay. I'll just stick my leg in the air, put it around the back of my head and just go, and I'll just get all the money. So they've practiced and fallen over. So the job is all about getting stuff right and getting stuff wrong. My ability to do this, my ability to train people to speak. I've been on stage for almost like 50 years now. I know it sounds ridiculous, but from a very young age, I was in school plays and stuff. So I've put in the 10,000 hours of purposeful practice. Right now, doing this show every day is part of my practice at being a virtual broadcaster. I had a friend yesterday, we were chatting and we were just talking about the fact, and he was saying to me, Dave, you know, if you do a show every day, you're going to experience burnout. That's why you should only do them every now and again. But what he didn't seem to realize is the fact that this is part of my going to the gym. This is me practicing and testing and pushing myself further every single day to be able to do more effective stuff online. I drive a show myself, come up with the content, and I'm testing myself. Can I get a new, fresh show from scratch, and new stories and new ideas to share with everybody? And that's my test. See, it all fits together. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love you to say hi and give you comments. Also, make sure you like. As often as a story comes up or a thing that you like, make sure you like it, because that makes a big, huge difference to us, because that means that other people get to see it as well. And your comments, when you tell me where you're from, I love to know that, so tell me where you're coming from as well. I may hold back on the Madonna thing. I'll tell you why I'm going to hold back on the Madonna video, because I want to do a session all about successful women. And Madonna for me she's one of my heroes. Can you say heroes? Heroine? Can't say heroine. She's one of my heroes, period, in life. She's brilliant. And I love her business model. I love her attitude. Don't love all the music, but that's not the point. That's not the point of this. It's about admiring somebody when they're brilliant at something and they've got longevity. And she was, I don't think she is now, but I don't think she probably still is, the most successful recording artist, female recording artist of all time, and with a career that's spanned 5 decades. So it's just incredible. So I'll save that for a proper one all about Wonder Women. We'll do that in a couple of days or something. Meanwhile, what I want to do is share with you something very special, and this is the attitude and success, the #1 recipe you have to have if you want to be able to cultivate success for yourself. So I hope you're enjoying the show. As always, leave your comments, say hi, and I love all the comments I've had so far. Thank you so much. You see, I've got my keyboard here. So as I'm talking, I'm sending messages back to you, and if you see me giggling out, if you see me do that, it's because I read something funny, but I can't tell you about it, but I will answer to you. It all makes sense to me. Speak on stage. Right then, let's get into it. He said, getting into it. He's talking about getting into it. We've already been here about half an hour, Dave. Could you get any more into it? Possibly faster and a lot more interesting. No, I couldn't. All right then, #1 recipe for successfully achieving your goals. First of all, stick with the winners and not with the losers. Jim Rohn, very famous philosopher and motivational speaker and expert on success thinking, said that the power of 5 means that the 5 people closest to you are going to be the average of what you have throughout your entire life. Tony Robbins says it's the power of 7, but it doesn't matter. The point is, you'll be the sum of whatever you hang around with. So if you hang around with people who complain about everything, not very successful, always saying, well, you know, I'm giving excuses, then you're going to end up doing the same thing, because that will be your comfort zone. So you've got to get outside your comfort zone. So these rules are kind of important. I know I'm going a bit fast, because I realised that I spent far too long talking about David and Goliath, and it was not all about this. The idea of today is very much about this. It's about the idea of having a rockstar attitude. And your rockstar attitude should really be born from the attitude of knowing what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're heading towards creating success in your life. And it's a one-person journey. People can travel with you as traveling partners on your road. So it could be a marriage, or it could be girlfriend, boyfriend, it could be some colleagues that you hang around with, it could be some friends from childhood, but generally you're going on a road, then it comes to a fork in the road, where you go, you know what, I'm going this way, you're going that, no worries, we'll keep in contact, I'll see you on Facebook, or maybe on Friends Reunited, well, hey, get you married, later on, Friends Reunited, Google it, and then you go on and you meet new traveling partners, because that's kind of how it works, but make sure that the people that you're hanging around with, are ones that are successful or good for you at that time. And you do outgrow friends, and you do outgrow partners, and you do outgrow your spouse sometimes if they don't grow with you. But the thing is, whether you stay with your spouse or not is a choice based on whether it's a one-person journey, but also your spouse is on their own journey, so let's travel on our own journeys, but together. That's cool as well. They don't have to follow you in your journey. Okay? Does that make sense? Just save some marriages. People are going, oh, Dave, I was wanting to get out of the house. Quarantine's doing my head in. Okay, the world is trying to make sure that you become a loser. This is not completely true, but it's got a lot to say for it. The world generally doesn't care. People don't care. So if you turn around and say, look, I've been really successful, haha, woo. But everyone's thinking, what's in it for me? So everyone's only interested in what you can give them as stuff. So when you're talking about something, the world doesn't necessarily want to see you as a loser, but the world doesn't care whether you're successful or not. So what you have to do is judge it yourself and make it a one-person, not going to say one man, but one-person journey. So as you go along this journey, a couple of things you have to think about. So winners act like they're winners before they become a winner. So I've already set up in motion this show. Every day I challenge myself, I'll be doing this show every day until I want to take a natural break or until it looks like I need to go end of season and whatever. But at the moment, today is episode 30 something. Can't remember. 32? Anyone counting? You don't care, you care less than me, don't you? So anyway, I'll keep going until I've got to a point where I just go, okay, natural break, I want to change the show, do something else, come back again. And it might be when I start interviewing people as well. That's coming up soon as well. Okay, so I act like I want to have the #1 show on whatever platform I'm putting it on. And I act like that from the very beginning. And I push myself. And does it matter if other people are better than me? I don't care. I'm doing what I do. It's a one-person battle. Okay, so with that, you've got to think about 3 things that everyone needs to be able to sacrifice. First of all, if you want to be a winner and have a rockstar attitude, you must get rid of security and certainty. Those are shackles. Those are things that go, ooh, I better not. Why? Well, what if things go wrong? Yeah, but what if things go right? Ooh, I don't think so. And many people are scared of success. It's true. I'll talk about this with rockstar attitude later on. Many people have a massive fear of what if everything goes right? So I'd better not. I was talking about this with an interview I did yesterday with Monique Russell, really good friend of mine. You should connect with her on LinkedIn and check out her podcast. So she's asking me lots of different questions, including my relationship as a black man with black people. Interesting. And the answer is you'll have to watch the podcast videocast to find out the answer. But what we talked about included a lot of the fact that sometimes you've got to do your own thing. And people don't like it, it's just tough. And you can actually live like that, and you can thrive like that. Some people don't get it, but I've always lived like that, so it's kind of cool. All right, so next up, number 2 is this, fear of judgment. Stop worrying about what people say. Who cares if they don't like it? When somebody says you can't do it, what they're actually saying is not you can't do it, they can't do it. That's fine, you never asked them to. So when somebody, you say, right, I'm going to climb Everest. Oh, you can't do it. No, you can't. I can. I'll be the judge of that. And you make a decision, and you carry on eating cake. And you sit in the car, and you big bubble like that. Whee, lockdown's been good to me. I'm going to go to Everest. They've got cake on top of Everest. Lovely. It looks like ice cream. I should take a big spoon. And then you go to Everest, and you don't get very far, because obviously you haven't worked out anything. But that's not the point. Forget that. Fear of judgment is something that you have, not anybody else. People don't care. They're not looking at you. They're not bothered. Rock stars know that. When you go out on stage, and you work... I mean, I've been on stage with a lot of people, right? I've worked on stage with James Brown, with Slash from Velvet Revolver, Paul Weller, Enrique Iglesias, Muse, Robert Plant, Iron Maiden, Prodigy, Incubus, who else? A couple of the Spice Girls with Mel C, a load of UB40, lots of stars I've worked with in the old days before I got all grey when I was young and cool and radio DJ and TV and stuff like that. So I've worked in front of big audiences with like thousands, Kanye West, in front of big Ziggy Marley, in front of big audiences with lots and lots of different people. And the amazing thing is, when you go in front of an audience of that size, they just want to have fun. They can turn against you if you mess it up, but they bought tickets, they want it to work out. So when you're worried about what people are going to think, most people just want it to be good, especially if they go to a gig. They don't go to a gig and want your speaking career to fall to bits in front of them, because nobody wins. They're willing you to be successful. But if it's funny and you start crying and you fall off a stage and land on your butt, it will be on Instagram because they'll all have videos of that. Alright, next up, and the last thing you got to think about, ignoring all the things, is other people's definition of success. Who cares what anybody else thinks your success should be? Now, you might have a mentor or a coach, and it's their job, it's my job to be able to make you successful and guide you. But I will tell you, first thing, stop thinking about what everyone else says. Because most people come from a position of lack or a position of negativity. Do you know how many people are into motivation and personal development, and how many people actually live their life by a set plan of writing down their goals to move forward? Have a guess. Put it down there. Type it down. Answers coming through. Go on, type it. What percentage of people are into personal development? Dave, we don't know. I know. Well, tell us then. Not yet. To and fro. Quid pro quo. I've heard that before. Do you remember? No politics. 3%. 3 to 5% of people are into personal development. I think it has changed a bit because due to people's phones, I think now people will send videos that are motivational to each other, but they still perceive shopping and watching Netflix and going out for a good drink as a way to solve all your problems. Not necessarily stepping away and reinventing yourself with the man in the mirror, or the lady in the mirror, or the bit of both in the mirror. We're not judging. Next up, we're going to be looking at how to have a rockstar attitude and the things you really need to put in place if you want to make those huge differences. So love your comments, keep them coming through. Make sure you like everything I say, that's good. And if you don't like anything I say, still like it because that's good. As a special trick, and just as I'm doing it, everything just freezes. Oh, I'm back again. Good job, I was only joking. Right, quick coffee. Just hold on. I wasn't going to take anything off. Even I can't look at that. Just, you know, lockdown. Yeah. Have you got coffee with you? What time is it where you are? Do you know, just type down where you are and what time it is for you. I'd like to know, because if I'm saying that this is my 11's is, because it's around about 11, 12 o'clock when I'm doing the show, and this is why I have a coffee. It might be your breakfast time if you're in the UK, or if you're in India or subcontinent or Pakistan or something like that. It might be mid-afternoon. It'd be tea time, maybe, if you're in Australia. Tea time as in dinner time, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, something like that. And if you're in, where would you be? Where would... I don't know, I've run out of places to talk about. I know in America it'll be late or it'll be early, depending which part of America you are, because it's massive. I have loads of Zoom calls to America all the time, and I have to, they all say, right, okay, so let's meet at 7 o'clock. I'm like, 7 o'clock where? GBT time. What's GBT stand for? Greater Bottom Toffee time. And I go, what part of America are you in? Oh, I'm not. I just like saying GBT. Okay, how to have a rockstar attitude. Number 1, jump and grow wings on the way down. This is my own personal phrase. Jump and grow wings on the way down. The reason I say that is because I think that's very important. Can I have some music? Maybe we should have some music. No, music's not going to play. It's a shame. That would have been really nice with music. We could have added to this scene every time. I'll do it for tomorrow. Okay, jump and grow wings on the way down. Take a calculated risk. Think about it. Think about, you know what, I could almost do this. There's a bit of a gap, but I reckon if I jump, I can probably learn the things I need to get to the other side, and I'll grow wings on the way down. Does that make sense? I do that all the time. When I started doing this show, I had no idea whether it was going to be successful or not. But I knew that I would learn as I went. And my background is I train people to speak. I'm a virtual broadcaster. I've done a ton of gigs since lockdown. Doing a live show, it should be okay. Things go wrong, and they do go wrong all the time. My computer keeps freezing, as you know, because you've been watching it. It's okay. Get a little bit stressed. And make a noise like that. Number 2, become an artist and push your creative flair. Do not become a pleaser. Now, there's a book which I may talk about in the future called The Icarus Deception by Seth Godin, who's one of my favourite authors of all time. And Seth talks about the fact that Icarus is a famous story about a guy and his son who tried to escape from a prison, I believe, by making wings out of wax and feathers. Problem is, they took off to fly, and they're flapping, flap, 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 or flap, 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 because they probably had small wings. And if they went too close to the sea, then the salt would make the wings heavy, and they'd drown. And they went too close to the sky, the sun would melt the wax, and then the wings would fall to bits, and so they'd drown. So what they had to do was stay in between like that. And I can't remember what happened because I'm not that old, and it's not probably a true story anyway, because I mean, how are you going to do it out wax and toilet paper and feathers? Oh, it's true. Really? Okay. So anyway, the point is that if you stay safe, you get nothing out of it. If you're an artist, treat your business as an artist, wherever your business is. Treat it as an art form, and be prepared to have people laugh at you and say this is ridiculous, and keep doing stuff that makes you uncomfortable, because as you grow, there'll be enough people to turn around and say, wow, that's amazing, because your craft will grow with you. If you stay in your comfort zone and just do crowd-pleasing stuff, you'll end up in a situation where people just get bored, and also you leave a very simple level where people can jump at the same level as you and go higher than you in perception. So you want to keep pushing yourself as an artist. We'll talk about that more in a future episode. Okay, get used to criticism and only use whatever moves you forward. So when people turn around and say, you're rubbish at something, or we like you at something, or you're fantastic, or whatever it is, I said this yesterday, imagine putting all the criticisms into a bag, and you take out all the stuff that's going to help you, and you throw out all the bits that are really rubbish, and say, right, learn to not pick your nose in front of the camera. Good point, I'll do that. And you put it behind you, and you never pick your nose in front of the camera, and you go faster because of the fact that you're learning stuff, and it powers your engine. Does that make sense? No? Yes, good, thank you. Give me your comments all the time. I love to have your comments. How you doing? Are you with me? Are you? Good. All right, number 4, don't just dream. Don't just dream. Go for it. Obsess your reality until it's too uncomfortable to stay. Think about where you want to be and get uncomfortable with where you were. I changed so many things since I went into lockdown. I've hardly been out of my car because I broadcast from here every day, and I have meetings every day with people all around the world. I coach people in my Industry Icon program all around the world. So why would I want to go and sit in a shopping mall and wait for somebody to arrive half an hour late so we could have a coffee and they could go, well, you know, mustn't grumble, life's all right. Get me on Zoom. Are you there? Yeah? How's life? Mustn't grumble. Life's all right? Fantastic. Cheers, bye. Done. No parking, no coffee, no problem. Number 5, get quirky and trust your internal quality control device. As you start producing stuff that's different from everybody else, you will find that you alienate yourself from everybody else. There's no doubt that somebody like Prince Rogers Nelson is now passed. He died at the age of 59, unfortunately, was a genius. If you ever saw Purple Rain, he was just an incredible artist and a pretty good actor as well. Then he went on to just change his style. He started off as a rocker, a sort of funky rocker, and then he reinvented himself all the way through to do all sorts of quirky, weird, but brilliant dance music. And every time you got Prince, you got a different version of Prince. He played about 30 different instruments, not at the same time, because that'd be like crazy. He'd be like that, way! People go, he's just dropping stuff. Why do you learn violin? Why do you let him play violin? He's terrible at it. Put it down, Prince. Just guitar. Okay. Purple Rain. No. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, then I'll probably put you off watching the film. But Prince was brilliant doing all these things. Now, not all his albums were fantastic for me. Some ones were very experimental, and he's like, can you just get to the pop songs, please? But some of it, in context, were brilliant. But over the period of his life, which was a short life, passed away at 59. Unbelievable. What a legacy. The amount of stuff that he churned out, good, bad, and ugly, when you pick out all the best bits, it's more stuff than most people have in their entire lifetime if everybody in the band writes music. Seriously. So get quirky, trust your own ability to move forward, and don't care what anybody else thinks about it. Even if they're paying your money, maybe you should work for somebody else. Or maybe you should do stuff that doesn't pay, but it's personal to you. Number 6, push until they can't ignore you. This is the thing about being a rock star. This is the thing about pushing yourself in the industry. When you are ready, the right people will turn around and say, you know what? We've been watching you for a while. Let's come and have a chat. And then turns into money. Don't worry about the fact that they should notice you. You do have to make opportunities. You do have to network. But eventually, if you're so good at what you do, the right people will find you and they will decide it's time. If it doesn't happen like that, you won't care because you'll have made it happen for yourself anyway. And my casing point for this is what we're called. Not what we're called. It will come to me in a moment. Pure something. There are a bunch of, there's 5 guys, that's 4, 5 guys who once a month bring out a video, they put it on YouTube, and they do lots of crazy sporty type stuff. And within one day of releasing the latest video, it was worth, hold on, I might have it here, let me just have a quick look. Just talk amongst yourselves for a little while. It might still be here, oh, wrong password. I'm on my other computer here. I'm not just typing into the table, because that would make me a complete idiot. Dude Perfect. Google it, Dude Perfect. Their new video came out 2 days ago, and within one day of it being launched, 17 million people had watched it. That's my point. So these guys do quirky stuff, who wear the baseball caps back to front, they've got their own shows, half-an-hour show, 17 million people watching it. Could you monetize that? Yeah, big time. But they would never want to be snapped up by a TV station, because the freedom they have to do what they want with an audience that quite clearly loves what they do would be ruined if they hand it over to somebody who wants to make what they do into conventional TV. Could you guarantee you could get 17 million viewers in one day just by telling people we're going live? With subscribers, they've got what, 54, some crazy number, millions of subscribers? No, you couldn't. But their business model is completely different, and with online and with social media, you don't need conventional. You can do it yourself. Okay. Number 7, ask constantly what others need. So if you want to do stuff, and it's true kind of for art, but it's not true for art, but it's true for services, what do people need? Ask them what they need and keep adapting and changing your stuff. And I'm not saying that you have to please people, but if you're producing a product for people and they have a challenge that they need to get over, if you produce something for that, they will pay for it. So add the business model to the artist that you are, right? So for instance, I do a show every day, and I help people to be able to do shows, to speak on stage, create their products and create their marketing, their branding. The proof is here, but also I show enough evidence to be able to help you to get to where you need to be. Does that make sense? Yes, no? No, yes? Yes, thank you. All right, number 8, hedgehog your skills and brand. Hedgehog skill set. This is a big section. I will go over hedgehogs again. Meanwhile, Google the hedgehog concept, and you'll see 3 circles. 3 circles. One is best that you could be in the world. One is what do you have passion about, and the other one is revenue. What can you make money out of? What are you best at in the world? What do you love doing? What can you make money out of? In the center is your natural hedgehog, your natural thing you should be doing to make you happy and rich for the rest of your life. All right, number 8 was that. Number 9, get brilliant at your craft. And not just get brilliant at your craft, your chosen craft, not lots of different things. Choose the one thing you're brilliant at and just do that. But also make sure there's evidence people can find that you're brilliant at doing it. Don't just say, look at me, I can play piano. That's not piano, it's a violin. It's a very special piano. No, it's not. I can't do that joke. But anyway, it's worth money in the bank to you when you work out what you're brilliant at and leave evidence. So when people say, oh, by the way, are you any good? Can you do this? Have you ever thought about it? You go, yeah, look at this. And you give them the evidence. Or you send them a link, or you send them to a website, or you've got a video pre-made all about that kind of stuff. How do you make those videos? That's for another show. And I teach all my clients when we do our Industry Icon program exactly how to make the promotional videos that make people go, wow, let me throw money at you because I really want to work with you. And you get loads of gigs. Because that's how it works. They won't do it until they see that you can do it. And they can't see you can do it until you can do it. So you've got this kind of catch-22 thing going on. But there are ways of hijacking it and getting you there faster. All right, and number 10, tell naysayers and idiots and people who don't believe that you are so good at what you do that they can kiss it. I taught my daughter this from a very early age. I said, if people don't like what you do and you really believe that what you do is correct, then you should do it anyway. And if people don't like it, you just go, kiss it. Is it rude? Yes. Is it offensive? Yes. Why? It's meant to be. I hope these ideas are right for you. I hope you got something out of them. I've gone through them quite quickly because I've whittled on quite a lot in today's show. But I think this is useful for you. Let me know. Was it good? Type it in. I like to feel the relationship that we're creating here. Because you might want to start your own business. You might say, I'm really stuck in where I am. You might have lost your job. and you're wondering, what am I gonna do? Why am I stuck in this position? How can I fix it? These are the attitudes you need to be able to move yourself forward, where you're not looking for other people to help you. You can do it fine yourself, and you can grow your own brand, and you can be a speaker, and you can be an industry icon. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? We'll sound like Tony Robbins now. Just say yes. Keep having a belief that if I press the buttons, he comes back as if by magic, having scored a goal. All right, the Industry Icon program is the one that will take you to the next level. This is where I coach you individually on all the stuff I've been talking about. What I do every day is I share with you concepts and ideas, but the implementation is the thing that matters. You could spend a lifetime just grabbing bits and pieces, but unless you tailor-make them for what you truly need from life, it won't make a huge amount of difference. But the show hopefully is entertaining, and it does give you insights. And the idea is I want to give you as much as I can do. But if you really want to fast track, the Industry Icon program is for that. Also, if you want to know how to speak, you want to work an audience, you want to do online stuff, and you want to be able to create content that goes viral, and you want to be able to do boardrooms and persuade people and sell to people and reinvent yourself, go to SpeakOnstage.com. That's what this whole show is really driving. If you go there's a number of modules, but each module, which has tons of videos, only $99. You can actually learn the whole system of what I am and what I do for less than $1,000. How amazing is that? So go to SpeakOnstage.com, and if you'd like to have a 10-minute consultancy with me to point out who you could be and what you can achieve and want to be coached by me, then all you have to do is go to SpeakOnstage.com, look for the bit where it says Industry Icon, press the button, it should take you to the page that looks like this one that you're looking at now. And then you just need to press the button to say, I want to connect with Dave, I want to learn what he does, let me book a session with him now. And it will take you through, and we can have a 10-minute chat all about all the things you need to make you super successful in your life. Does that sound groovy and cool? Yes or yes? Stop saying that. Tony Robbins will see you, Dave. Are you sure? Yes. Are you sure he's watching the show? Yes. Are you sure you're talking to yourself and not just being a little bit weird? I'm always talking to myself. And I am quite a bit weird. I've gone quiet now. What do you call it? The Von Trapp family at the end of A Sound of Music, where they go, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. We should do something like that and have a joint across the internet sing-song. So what we may do in the future days, by the way, we're going to have stuff like, we're going to have callers coming in. Yeah, absolutely. You'll be able to dial up from your phone and go live into the show, or zoom in and go live into the show. That's something, the technology I'm working on. I have to be very careful about it because I want to make sure I don't get anybody who's a bit crazy or says the F word, which stands for Frederick. Who thought that was so offensive? But that's what I've been told. So I'm going to be very, very careful about that. But we're working towards it all the time, pushing the art to get to new levels. I'm going to leave you with a new video, by the way. I hope you enjoyed the show. Love your feedback. And having a wonderful day as well. And I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to leave you a video, which is one that I haven't shared with you before. And it's all about alphas. I make these videos and I show people how to make these videos. We may do them together at a later date, but meanwhile, from me, have an amazing day. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I'm back to working super hard to prepare for tomorrow's show, which is all about and you're saying, what's that about? It's all about how to make you moolah. Yeah, but Dave, what do you say first? I said it's all about What is that, Dave? It's about moolah. Why won't you tell us what it's called? Because I haven't thought of it yet. Speak on stage. See you tomorrow. Let me talk to you about alphas. Alphas are the way that things are going to be in the future. If you're not an alpha, then you're not anybody in a world where people need to see your brand. So what's an alpha? Every single industry, every single walk of life
every single part of the animal kingdom knows that the alphas are the leaders that make things happen. When you go into a boardroom full of people and you're wondering how you fit in, if you're an alpha, it won't matter because you're in charge. So how do you create a brand? How do you position yourself in a world where being an alpha makes a difference? You have to consider what that truly means to people. To find if you're an alpha, you've got to ask yourself certain questions. Are you a risk taker? Are you a heavy hitter? Are you a mover and a shaker? Are you a thought leader? Are you somebody that people gravitate towards because you're a manager? Are you scared of the consequences of getting it wrong? Do you embrace the ways that you can make it right? Do you move on and position yourself regardless of what's happened before? If you have, you are an alpha. If you're not, you are a follower. The difference in a war is you become a cannon fodder. So let's put it in perspective. How do you put it together? How do you get yourself in a position where your alpha will allow you to earn more money, be more successful, grow your business, be seen by others, and have a tribe that are your followers? Well, very simple. In my opinion, you learn to speak. Speaking's the advantage. Communication is one of the few things that most people don't know what to do. If you take the biggest leaders in business that you can think of, whether it's a Steve Jobs, a Richard Branson, whether it's a Nelson Mandela, or a Donald Trump, or an Obama, every single one of them has one thing in common. Their message was clear. And when the message is clear, people can follow. So where does that put you? Can you speak? Can you say what you need to say in front of strangers? Can you walk into a boardroom full of people and stand there and make your claim and do your sales in any part of the world? If you can't do that, you're not doing your business. If you can't do the speaking, if you can't do the communication, you're not an alpha. But when you are, you walk in a room and the whole world sees you. The whole world appreciates you. The whole world repositions you. And this is the noise that you will hear. Learn to speak, and you become an alpha too.